This is a story of a popular girl named Nanju, who is for the streets falling in love with an introvert boy named Kiyomi. The manga begins in a classroom, where we see a hentai protagonist named Honda Koen, who approaches MC and gives him a video game. Kiyomi thanks him, meanwhile rest of the class is gossiping about Nanju, as she is yet with a new guy. Nanju is the popular girl of the class, and there is a rumor going on that everyone in the class has clapped her cheeks at least once. Except Honda and Kiyomi, as they are a no-go. After the school was over, he realized that the video game which Honda Koen gave him was left in the classroom. So he goes back to retrieve it, but as soon as he opens the class door, he sees that Nanju and a faceless character were having a smash session in the classroom. He slammed the door shut and was thinking, are they having fun at school? He peeked through the door, and realized that they were doing the filthy deed on his desk. Embarrassed, the faceless boy apologizes and leaves the class. Meanwhile, Nanju asks Kiyomi if he would like to continue where the faceless boy left off. But our boy, like the virgin Chad he is, tells her to move, as she is sitting on his desk. He brings out a pack of wet tissues from his bag and starts cleaning the desk like a madman. That's because he doesn't want to come in contact with her bodily fluids. She asks if he would like to go to a hotel with her, but Kiyomi was a video games over bitches kind of a guy. So he ignores her and simply leaves the classroom. While standing near the lockers, he realized that the rumor about Nanju clapping everyone in class was true after all, but in the end, it didn't have anything to do with him. Nanju comes from behind, slams his locker and tells him to wait a second. Being a Chad, he once again ignores her yapping as he doesn't want to lose his virginity to someone who is involved with lots of people. He brutally rejects Nanju by telling her that she isn't his type, and he prefers black-haired, neat girls like Madoka from Sparkling Memories. After this, he then walks away from her, leaving Nanju stunned because it's her first time getting rejected from a boy. If you are also a virgin Chad like Kiyomi, subscribe the channel. Later at home, he was playing his favorite video game with poor back posture. He says that he wants to date someone like Madoka who is black-haired and neat. The following day at school, a girl with gorgeous black hair passed by him. He was confused and thought it was a dream. But soon his disappointment became immeasurable and his day was ruined when he realized it was none other than Nanju. She asked him if he had a moment and told him to meet outside the classroom. At a nearby staircase, she was posing and called herself a neat girl because of her black hair, just like Kiyomi said yesterday. Covering his right eye, he was questioning her neatness, but she told him that her buttons were done all the way up, making her a neat girl. He asked her, why did she go that far just because of his preference? Nanju told him, it's because he rejected her yesterday, and now, she intends to make him sleep with her. Kiyomi tells her that he isn't interested in someone who gets passed around so easily. Nanju looked like she was about to cry from this brutal rejection of Kiyomi. Realizing he might have said a bit too much, he leaves her alone thinking it would be a bother if he tagged alongside her. Walking down the stairs, he ran into the faceless boy and his friend from yesterday, so he quietly followed them. The boys complimented Nanju's black hair and asked if they could have a group smash session with her right now. Confident that she would say yes, Kiyomi turns around and starts walking away. But surprisingly, she says no and tells them that she doesn't want to do this type of stuff anymore. This boy was using her as a meat relief and calls Nanju a worthless woman to her face. She wasn't used to dealing with a situation like this. She thought she has to say something and laugh it off casually. Because if she didn't, everything will go back to her traumatic middle school days, and it would be hell for her. Luckily, Kiyomi the Chad returns and asks why she's still here. He makes up a lie and tells her that Arai-sensei was calling her in his office regarding yesterday's matter. Hearing Arai-sensei's name, both guys run away from Kiyomi like he's some sort of a devil. After the boys were gone, Kiyomi apologizes about what he said earlier. Here it is revealed that Nanju didn't have any friends during middle school, and when she entered high school with a new look, she started getting attention from all the boys. She became the most popular girl of school, every boy wanted her, and every girl in the school was jealous of her. She was afraid of being alone, she didn't know what to do about her situation and just wanted normal love. Love guru Kiyomi said she can definitely have normal love and told her that she is a cute girl. But still she wasn't his type. Nanju was baffled and told him she dyed her hair because of him. So he should take responsibility and asked him to be her boyfriend. He knew she was far from his ideal woman, but his heart was beating so fast that he accepted her proposal without even realizing it. The next day, Nanju was mad at him because yesterday he went home without taking Nanju with him. He was looking at her weirdly and she asked what was it. He told her to dye her hair back to normal as she was more charming that way. She started teasing him and said that she won't give up on doing it with him. But as usual, Chad Kiyomi rejected her. After the school was over, she suggested that they should go on a date over this weekend. But Kiyomi tells her that he doesn't have any casual clothes. That's because he rarely goes out from his house. But at least he takes a daily shower. He showed her his one and only t-shirt which had his favorite waifu Madoka on it. So they decide to hang out together and went shopping in a fancy mall. Kiyomi was like a lost child and didn't know which clothes to buy for himself. So Nanju picked out a bunch of outfits for both of them, and after trying them on, he tells her to give up and she agrees with him. She goes into the room to change her clothes but decides to tease him a little bit. She pokes her head out while hugging the curtains and tells him to bring the clerk. She saw the faceless boys from yesterday and upon realizing it, she pulled Kiyomi in the changing room with her. This gave Kiyomi a first-class view of Nanju's twin forbidden fruits. After the boys were gone, she again teased him by saying if he wants to clap her right now, but as usual he rejects her offer. Next, they go to a hair salon and the barber there asks Nanju if Kiyomi was her boyfriend. He told her that his plainness was cute, but to Kiyomi, those words didn't make any sense. He didn't think his hair would change because they were damaged from the roots, but the barber just smiled and told him to trust the process. He gave Kiyomi a fire-ass makeover and turned him into an amateur model. The haircut was magical, as Kiyomi was now able to see the world without his glasses. As a fangirl, Nanju decided to take a picture with him. She thought it turned out great and decided to use it as a wallpaper on her phone. He approached the barber and thanked him. After that, he started ranting about his Sigma male comeback arc. Nanju saw Kiyomi's glow up and started blushing from excitement. After that, he sat on the chair and Nanju excused herself to go to the toilet. The barber let him in on a secret that Nanju wanted to dye her hair blonde when she entered high school, so he was surprised when she told him that she wanted to dye her hair back to black. Kiyomi realized his mistake and decided to be careful about what he says from now on. The following day, Nanju was baffled to see Kiyomi as he went back to his original hairstyle. He told her that he wants Nanju to go blonde again. It's true that he likes black-haired girls like Madoka, but he is more of a personality over hair kind of a guy. He liked Madoka's personality and she just happened to have black hair. But his ideal woman was still a black-haired, neat girl. He wanted Nanju to do what she liked because that was most charming to him. She asked if he would break up with her if she went blonde again, but he said he won't. So the next day she came to school as usual, but with blonde hair. The disappointment on his face was apparent. Even when he said it wasn't like that, we all know it was. He was genuinely happy because Nanju was doing something she liked. It's the weekend, and as promised, Kiyomi and Nanju were going on a date. Even though it was Kiyomi's first time being on a date, he wasn't nervous at all and perceived it as a video game. Nanju was late for the date, and he thought she might have lost interest in him, but she simply missed her train. She was sweating buckets, so she started to cool herself by taking her top off. Kiyomi is shocked to see this and Nanju teases him, saying that he can touch her perky milk jugs if he wants to. He tells her to cover up because people can see her, but she doesn't mind it at all. During their date, it starts raining and he asked Nanju if she brought an umbrella with her. She didn't, and turned bitter as the bad weather might ruin their first date. During this commotion, she noticed that Kiyomi had brushed his hair today. He didn't care about his hairstyle, until his mother brought back his amateur model looks. They started walking together under the umbrella and she said, "This looks like a moment straight out of a rom-com manga." She again started to tease him, but he pulled back like a stray cat, leading her to getting wet in the rain. He told her that he doesn't like being touched and that's why he is a cleaning addict. Nanju touches his shirt and asks him if it's okay. He turns around his face and starts blushing. Asking her where does she want to go. She says she doesn't care. Following this, she suggests that they can go to a net cafe and book a private room, so they can do naughty stuff, but Kiyomi rejects this idea. Finally, they stop at a manga store. She picks up and starts reading a shoujo manga. He starts ranting about the plot of this manga and Nanju quietly listens to him. She was smiling at him and told him that she was glad that he was showing her what he likes. This was new for her as she never had a date like this before. His heart skipped a beat and all of his previous opinions about Nanju vanished when he realized that she was genuinely interested in him. He asked her if they can go somewhere else after this, and she agreed. They went to a skyscraper and Nanju commented that the view is foggy as it was raining earlier. He was surprised that Nanju liked places like this. But she tells him that this place reminds her of the good memories she had, as she used to come here often with her family. But all that changed since she entered high school, and now they don't even talk to each other anymore. Nanju tells Kiyomi that today, she had a great time with him. Kiyomi was smiling while looking at her, and told her that she was a good girl who cared for her family. She wanted to explore other places with Kiyomi, and every opinion he had about Nanju up until this point vanished from his mind. He wanted to know more about her, and their date comes to an end with a surprising appearance of a rainbow. Following their successful date, the next day at school, Nanju asked Kiyomi if he had free time after they were done with school. He was free, as he didn't have anything planned for the day. Upon hearing this, she tells him that her parents are going to a hot spring for a few days, which meant she would be home alone tomorrow, prompting Kiyomi for some cultural activities. But the virgin Chad missed her clue and asked, "Why don't you go with them?" She teased him for being innocent and asked, "Won't you come to my house?" He doesn't mind going to her place, but he won't do any cultural activities that she expects from him. She further teases him, saying, what did he think she expected from him? In the next panel, she asks Kiyomi if it's alright for her to eat with him. That's because he had other friends, such as that hentai protagonist Honda Koen. But to her surprise, Kiyomi tells her that Honda Koen has a girlfriend and he spends the lunch break with her. Nanju couldn't believe it, but he thought she was being disrespectful. If Honda Koen can pull a girl for himself, then so can you guys. The following day, Nanju didn't come to school, which was very strange. He texted her to ask if she was okay, but it turns out she had a fever. After the school was over, he remembered what she said yesterday and ended up going to her place. She answered the doorbell while wearing a loose top, which gave Kiyomi the first-class view of her melons, and he got embarrassed after seeing her like that. In her defense, she doesn't usually wear something like this, but today she was sweating a lot. She was about to change her outfit, but then Kiyomi rang the doorbell, and she answered it while looking like that. He asked if her parents know about her situation, and they didn't. She simply didn't want to ruin their quality time together. Before he could say anything else, her stomach growled loudly. He asked if she ate anything, but she only had a pudding in the morning. So Kiyomi went to the convenience store and bought a microwavable meal for her. He brought her the porridge, but she didn't want to eat, and wanted to be spoon-fed like a baby, so he did just that. While feeding her, some of the porridge fell onto her milk jugs, which made it milk porridge. He got flustered and apologized for his mistake, but she started teasing him by saying, "Don't you want to clean it?" Me personally, I would have licked off that porridge from her mommy milkers. Kiyomi started blushing, but she was only joking and asked him for the tissues. Finding the opportunity, she asks Kiyomi if he wants to smash, but as usual he rejected her. After eating the porridge, Nanju immediately fell asleep. He got up to clean the dishes, but then he noticed something. One of her melons was slipping from her bra, and he got embarrassed upon seeing this. Despite being a clean freak, he did want to touch her, because he is a man after all. In that moment, he realized that if he wants to keep this relationship going, he needs to change himself. So he gathered all of his virgin power and decided to touch those sweet melons of hers, but he ended up touching her hand instead. Just by touching her hand, he realized that it felt warm and soft. This got him thinking about how long it has been since he touched another human being. In a flashback, it is revealed that back in the elementary school, one girl in the class refused to shake his hand and told him that his hand was gross. From that day onwards, he became aware of his surroundings and became a clean freak. Our boy was practicing social distancing, even before the pandemic. He got up to leave her house, but Nanju somehow grabbed his hand and planted him face first into those milk jugs of hers. Embarrassed, he somehow managed to escape her gorilla grip and thought this was way too soon for him, and immediately went back home. The next day, Nanju came to school in a joyful mood. She realized Kiyomi was a very kind person and wanted to thank him for taking care of her yesterday. She spotted him in the distance, but before she could say anything, a black-haired neat girl greeted Kiyomi. She was talking about last night and told him it was fun, so they should do it again sometime in the near future. Nanju couldn't believe what she was saying. She decided to piece their conversation together and came to the conclusion that they were doing the deed last night. Nanju thought there's no way a cleaning addict like him would do something like this. But then again, this girl possessed all the qualities of Kiyomi's ideal girlfriend, and in her mind, she thought he dumped her. Nanju's train of thoughts was wrecked when Kiyomi asked if she was going to the class. She couldn't look him in the eyes, and requested him to tell the teacher that she was in the infirmary. Realizing something was off, he stopped Nanju and asked her if everything was alright. Nanju asked Kiyomi if he went anywhere else after visiting her. "No, I went straight back to my home," said Kiyomi. She thought he was lying, and told him to just go to the class. In the past, she was cheated on and dumped by many guys, and she recognized the same pattern here. Nanju came to the class after the second period, but she was completely ignoring him throughout the class. He wondered what he could have done to hurt her feelings, but nothing clicked in his mind. Kiyomi started to question his relationship with Nanju. He thought it was too good to be true for an introvert like him, and thought she had lost interest in him. After the period was over, Kiyomi left the classroom and Honda Koen was able to sense the dark aura around him. It looked like he was about to join the dark side and become a hentai protagonist himself. But he got through the darkness and began looking for Nanju throughout the school. He couldn't find her anywhere, so he went to the one sacred place, which was missing from this manga, the school rooftop. There, Nanju was asking the black-haired neat girl if she was dating Kiyomi. She was blushing while telling her how precious Kiyomi was to her and how much she cherishes him. The black-haired girl noticed him in the distance and called out his name. Nanju turned around in shock and asked, "Why are you here?" It is revealed that the black-haired girl's name is Kitagami, and she is Honda Koen's girlfriend. Don't stop the grind, you guys. I'm sure one day you will be able to bag yourself a girl, just like Honda Koen did. To clear the misunderstanding, the three of them were together last night, but it was in an online video game lobby. Nanju started laughing and realized how dumb she was. To defuse the situation, she asked Kiyomi if he would like to clap her cheeks, but to her surprise, Kitagami chimed in and proposed the idea for a group session for clapping cheeks. Nanju started blushing, but Kitagami cleared the air by saying it was only a joke and the four of them can play video games together someday. That certain someday comes very soon, and they both decide to visit Honda Koen. They arrive at his apartment complex and for some reason, this hentai protagonist lives in a building that looks like it was made for celebrities. Kitagami and Honda Koen welcome them to the apartment and they decide to play a team battle game. Kiyomi argues that Nanju is just a beginner but no one listens to him. She was shockingly stacked in the game and somehow managed to win the match against the other team. She brought her hands up for a high five, but Kiyomi left her hanging as he was a clean freak. Kitagami noticed this and decided to comfort Nanju. She asked if it was alright for them to call each other by their nicknames and they both agreed on it. Without any hesitation, she asks Nanju if they have gotten to the cultural part of their relationship yet.
NANI?
She seemed like an expert on this topic, and judging by their reaction she could tell that they haven't smashed yet. Kiyomi knew she was right and he wanted to move forward in their relationship, but he couldn't even touch her. Professor Kitagami dropped some more knowledge and told Kiyomi that women like to be touched by their loved ones and they want to be held by them without any reservation. This is what gives them the butterflies in their stomach, so take notes you guys. Not to mention, she also tells them that Honda Koen's e-play before their smash session is really good, which was obvious by his looks. She asked Nanju if she agreed with her. "If Kiyomi Koen touched me, I would be really happy," said Nanju. Hearing this made him happy and his cheeks started flushing. On their way out, Kiyomi thanked Honda Koen for inviting them over. Meanwhile, Kitagami hugged Nanju, and her eyes lit up when she asked if they could become friends. Kitagami knew she didn't have any friends and invited her for shopping, which she gladly accepted. On their walk towards home, Nanju thought it was pretty fun and Kiyomi was glad that she liked it. While walking together, he realized that he needed to get rid of his clean freak personality if he wants to get closer to Nanju. Against his will, he asks Nanju if she wants to hold hands. Confused at first, she smiled and then extended her hand towards him. Kiyomi grabbed her hand and thought it was warm and soft. Nanju started teasing him, commenting that he was holding her hand in a lewd manner, but she didn't mind it at all. He realized that Kitagami was right, and touching the person you love makes you relax and happy. Fast forward a few weeks, it's been a whole month since they started going out. They still don't hold hands, but she embraces what he can and can't do. Unholy thoughts started filling her head when she realized that once he gets over the fear of touch, they can do a lot more than touching hands. Kiyomi noticed that Nanju was blushing and asked her about it, but she said it was nothing. Like RKO, it starts to rain out of nowhere, so they started running and decided to take shelter under the nearby shops. He checked the weather broadcast and realized that it won't stop raining anytime soon. She suggested they should buy an umbrella, but they couldn't enter the shops being that drenched. His house was nearby so they could go there because he didn't want Nanju to board the train while looking like that. "What do you mean while looking like that?" said Nanju. She looked at her soaked shirt and teased Kiyomi, calling him a pervert. They started walking towards his house and they reached there in no time. She asked him about his parents, so he told her that his father was at work and her mother was taking some sort of lesson right now. This meant no one was home, and again Nanju started having unholy thoughts in her head. He told her to take a shower, otherwise she might catch a cold, and she thanked him. After taking her clothes off, she entered the bathroom and started taking a shower. While taking a shower, she got into her head a bit too much and realized both of them were alone in the house. Does that mean they are finally doing it? Was this Kiyomi's plan all along? She thought they haven't kissed yet, aren't they moving a bit too fast for this? She took shower thoughts to the next level, but before she could go any further, Kiyomi called out her name and gave her a clean towel with some fresh clothes. She thought if they continued like this, they might even take a hot steamy shower together. Upon having this lewd thought, she screams, "What am I thinking?" Meanwhile, Kiyomi was wondering if everything was okay. Nanju came out of the shower, wearing his one and only t-shirt. He told her that she was wearing a limited edition Madoka t-shirt and it was precious to him. What a Chad. He gave her a warm cup of tea so she wouldn't get cold. She stared at it and thought, he must use this cup very often, so if she drinks from this cup, that would count as an indirect kiss, right? He apologized to Nanju for making her sit on the ground and told her to sit on the bed. Hearing the word bed, she thought it was time to do the deed. Kiyomi asked her if they should do it. She hesitated at first, but then gave him the green light. She was getting excited to get her cheeks clapped, until our boy asked her, which game? She was disappointed but not surprised because he is a clean freak after all. It was her first time playing the game, and she kept getting rejected by Madoka, which made her angry. Kiyomi told her that she wasn't meeting the requirements for Madoka to love him. Nanju got annoyed and told him it didn't matter as long as she loves you, but it was just a video game. While playing the game, she started wondering if it was okay to not do anything at her boyfriend's house. It was still raining outside and her inability to touch Kiyomi made her pout. She wondered if his ding-dong didn't work, and maybe that was the reason why he was hesitant. But this was neither the place nor the time to be a gentleman. In a moment of self-awareness, she realized that after coming to his place, she has been only thinking about naughty stuff. She claimed she was going to die of embarrassment, and Kiyomi asked if she was okay. He noticed her face getting red, but she got out of the shower a while ago. "Perhaps you got another cold," said Kiyomi. He got up to check if she was okay, but upon seeing his face, her cheeks started to flush even more. She grabbed his arm and pulled him over her. He was in a good position to start the deed. Nanju lifted her t-shirt and told Kiyomi she was ready to smash right now. He hesitated for a moment but asked for her consent first, something everyone should do before claiming he was a man, and couldn't resist such seduction from her. They were about to get started but then, "I'm home," said Kiyomi's mother. She noticed a different pair of shoes and asked if his friend came over. He went out to explain the situation to her mother. Meanwhile, back in the room, Nanju realized they almost did it if his mother didn't interrupt them. Nanju met his mother and decided to go home. While walking outside, none of them uttered a single word to each other because they were too nervous to say anything. At the train station, before leaving, she asked Kiyomi to wait. She wanted to hold his hand, so they did just that. "See you tomorrow, Kiyomi," said Nanju in a very cute voice. While standing on the train, she was thinking about what happened a few hours earlier. They would have done it if Kiyomi's mother didn't interrupt them. Going to your boyfriend's house and doing the deed was totally normal, but it felt different with Kiyomi. Nanju realized that she wanted to be embraced by someone who loves her. It was her first time experiencing something like this. She realized she loves Kiyomi and wants to see him again even after spending the whole day with him. She really wished that tomorrow would come soon.